What's in a name? Would a rose by any other name smell as sweet? What if you called it a garbage flower? The name of my disease is ME/CFS. It's a very serious chronic neuroimmune condition that affects people of every age, including children, and there is no cure. What does ME/CFS stand for? Well, the ME stands for myalgic encephalomyelitis. And this is a name that was popularized starting in the 1960s by a doctor named Melvin Ramsey. Now, a lot of people say that they find myalgic encephalomyelitis very difficult to pronounce, but I think it's not that hard if you just kind of break it down and practice. Myalgic encephalomyelitis. Myalgic encephalomyelitis, then you just put it together, myalgic encephalomyelitis. But what about the other half? What about the CFS in ME/CFS? Well, to explain that part, I need to take you back to the 1980s. The name myalgic encephalomyelitis, in the 20th century, it was used in the UK and Europe, but it wasn't really used in the US. In the US, they didn't really have a name for this disease. It's the year 1988, and a group of scientists at the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control, have a problem. A new disease is sweeping across America. Not AIDS, the other one. And this disease is devastating people's lives. It's in the news. It's affecting hundreds of thousands of people, and some of them are wealthy and connected people. It's being discussed by journalists and politicians. And the CDC is under intense pressure to do something about this devastating disease. But these doctors at the CDC are quite sure that the disease isn't real. You see, this disease mainly affects women, and the CDC doctors are absolutely certain that it's not a real disease. It's just a bunch of hysterical housewives getting stressed out because it's so stressful for them to have to look after their children. Well, either that, or else they're overly ambitious career women who are being driven mad by the stress of trying to compete in a man's world. The 1980s was a very sexist time. So these doctors came up with a plan. They would give the disease a name so ridiculous, so silly, so ludicrous that no one would ever take the patients or the disease seriously ever again. And the name they came up with was chronic fatigue syndrome. And their plan worked. After they named the disease chronic fatigue syndrome, it stopped being talked about in the media, or it was still talked in the media, but it was now more of a joke rather than something to be taken seriously. The patients weren't listened to by their doctors anymore. They were dismissed. They weren't believed. They were seen as just being malingerers, and they were shamed because they were seen as being just people who were a bit crazy and who just sort of imagined that they were sick even though they really weren't. The patients who couldn't get out of bed were just seen as, well, crazy people who just wanted to lie in bed all the time. You know, for years, decades, they did that because they wanted to. No research funding was allocated to this disease. No doctor would take it seriously. It wasn't taught in medical schools. There was a complete medical neglect of this disease, which continues to this day. And if you heard the name chronic fatigue syndrome and you thought, oh, I know what that is. That's the one where you get tired all the time. I get tired too. Yeah, almost 4 decades later, that name is still working on you. It's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. Okay, garbage flower, shit bloom, nausea blossom. That's good, right? Nausea blossom, nausea blossom, nausea blossom. That rolls off the tongue, nausea blossom. No, those are all horrible names, aren't they? I wouldn't want nausea blossoms. It seems like it does actually matter what you call it.